Trump is borrowing from his playbook here at home. We've got the details. Plus, his administration is making new threats against Harvard and other universities, even while facing pushback from the courts. And another of Trump's personal attorneys just landed a cushy appointment. But we begin this hour with President Donald Trump's continued reality check from the co-equal judicial branch as the courts exercise their crucial role in the system of checks and balances, and give a reminder to Trump that he is, in fact, not a king. Just this week, both the U.S. Court of International Trade and a separate federal judge in Washington blocked the administration from imposing many of Trump's sweeping tariffs, ruling Trump overstepped his authority. An appellate court has temporarily stayed one of the rulings as it considers the government's appeal. Additionally, a federal judge on Tuesday struck down Trump's executive order that targeted the law firm Wilmer Hale, calling it unconstitutional. And this marks the third ruling to overwhelmingly reject Trump's effort to punish law firms he perceives as enemies of his administration. And in Trump's escalating war against Harvard University, a federal judge extended her order blocking the administration from revoking the school's ability to enroll foreign students. But of course, it's not all defeats for Trump. The Supreme Court ruled yesterday in Trump's favor on immigration, allowing the administration to revoke the temporary legal status granted by the Biden administration to more than 500,000 immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Joining us now, Mary McCord, former acting Assistant Attorney General for National Security at the Justice Department, and Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield, who led one of the lawsuits blocking Trump's tariffs. Thank you both very much for coming to the weekend. Mary, let me start with you, and I want to play what the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, tweeted on Wednesday about the federal trade court's blocking of Trump's tariffs. Look at this. The judicial coup is out of control. And he's been repeating this in television interviews. Please explain to the viewers what the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President of the United States, why that is just patently wrong
and what's
false
behind
and a lie.
Why is he saying it?
Well, so the judicial branch is the third co-equal branch of government. We have three branches of government, right? The executive, the legislative, and the judicial. And in fact, this president and this, Stephen Miller kind of don't want to admit that, right? The executive branch, the actions we've been seeing since January 20th have really been intended to kind of steamroll both Congress's authority and judges' authority, and they don't like those rulings, and so they're making comments like that. That's not a judicial coup. I mean, the Supreme Court, since Marbury v. Madison, the very founding of the country, has said it's the judiciary's job to say what the law is. And that Court of International Trade, that's exactly what the court did. That is a three-member panel, too. That's not like this, there's a lot of criticism out of the administration about a single federal district court judge did something. That was a three-judge panel that overwhelmingly said these tariffs are beyond the authority that Congress delegated under IEEPA for you to impose. IEEPA is the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, and Congress is the one under the Constitution that has the power to levy tariffs. They delegated some power to the president, but he exceeded that. That is saying what the law is. That's the judiciary's job.
Attorney General Rayfield, you are part of one of these tariff cases in Oregon, and it feels like this is both for folks in your state about the impact on the people, how the tariffs would impact the people in your state, but also about reining in, if Congress won't do it, as Mary's talking about, reining in the power of the president.
Yeah, the motivation for bringing this starts with people. Tariffs, again, always seems like something that isn't going to impact us in our daily lives, but economists show that these tariffs, as Donald Trump has tried to implement them, was going to be a $3,800 increase to average households each year. And that's effectively a tax on all Americans. So that's where we start out. It's impacting businesses. Here in Oregon, we have one of the largest nursery industries this side of the Mississippi, and they're pulling our products off the shelves in Canada. It's hurting people, it's hurting businesses as a state. We're losing revenue. And also at the same time, goods and things that we purchase are becoming more expensive. What that means for us in the community, that means less money for schools, less money for healthcare. And then at the same time, and I think this was just talked about, this is bigger than us. This is about the hallmark of our democracy, about the separation of powers, and how important it is that no one branch of government has too much power. And this president is just trying to amass power in unconstitutional ways. And that's why we're winning in courts right now.
So, Mary, where does it go from here in the courts? Because they'll appeal it, and it's just going to keep going up the chain? Or can you explain to us what to expect? And frankly, it has such a ripple effect on the economy, these arbitrary laws that he is enacting.
So in this particular case involving the tariffs, already there's been, of course, an appeal, not only appeal to the circuit court for the federal circuit. That's where these appeals courts, these are Article 3 courts, but they're sort of specialized courts. That court has already issued a stay of the lower court's ruling, which is that sort of whiplash effect, right? The tariffs are off, the tariffs are back on. But that stay is just an administrative stay. It's just until they can actually have more time to take to rule on the motion, and then ultimately rule on the substantive legal issues, the same legal issues I was just talking about with respect to whether the president's executive orders and his tariffs have exceeded his authority, both his constitutional authority and his statutory authority. And then from there, if it's not a favorable ruling for Trump, we can imagine that this will be at the Supreme Court. And what Trump's been doing in so many other cases is going to the Supreme Court even earlier if he gets a ruling he doesn't like, and especially when a circuit court does not stay that ruling, then he's been going straight up to the Supreme Court. Their emergency docket is overflowing.
Yeah. So then, Attorney General Rayfield, how concerned are you that, given what Mary just said, the emergency docket of the Supreme Court is, overflowing with cases? How confident are you that the Supreme Court of the United States will uphold the rule of law, will be a block on the president when it's really needed, especially since the president thinks that the Supreme Court works for him because he's appointed, 3 of the justices on the bench?
Well, here's the thing. This case was as strong as it was on day one. It's going to be strong when we get to the Supreme Court, if we get to the Supreme Court. I think it's very interesting. That 3-panel judge that has been referenced, one of those was appointed by Donald Trump. Another person was appointed by Ronald Reagan. And so you have this unique dynamic where they're choosing the referees for the game, but then they're complaining about the game on the back end of this thing. And so I do feel confident. And I think we're in a moment in time where it comes to foundational hallmark constitutional issues, right? Not giving the president more power than Congress has delegated. They are standing up to him on these big issues. And so I do feel confident as we move through the court systems.
Mr. AG, I want to follow up really quickly because I've asked Mary this question before. The judges feel very fed up already, right? As we're reading these opinions, as we hear from these judges and justices, they're getting kind of fed up with kind of the stretches that Donald Trump and his team are doing. But if the Trump folks ignore them, then what? Because our colleague Lisa Rubin writes, but those victories conceal a growing cancer on the rule of law, the seeming ease with which government lawyers and or officials under legal and ethical obligations to adhere to and execute our court orders are instead flouting them. What happens if they just continue to ignore some of these court orders? Including maybe the one that comes in your case.
Fed up. This is a big deal. Last week in court, Trump's lawyers came in and effectively said, you know what, judges, you can't review anything we do. And the judges did not have that. It was incredibly clear and palpable in that courtroom that they were not having this we're above the law mentality in the courtroom. And so I think you're starting to see these worries trickle into, I hear it in my community, right? This is a big issue. What happens if they stop following the court orders? So far, specifically in this case, we're not getting any indication that they are not going to follow these laws. Uniquely, what they could do is try and pass tariffs under a different statute, right? There's an actual Title 19 statutes that allow the president to set tariffs with specific safeguards for our economy, safeguards for our businesses, safeguards for our consumers. And so that's something that they could try and do. But I do anticipate, especially in this case, that they would follow the rule of law if we got a positive ruling of the Supreme Court.
You know, honestly, I just think that this will be an all-out war if Trump doesn't get what he wants, as opposed to if the Supreme Court decides to uphold the rule of law, and ultimately tells Trump off. I mean, practically they've already done it and told him off in the recent court battle of birthright citizenship and injunctions for the in the courts. I appreciate the folks, the nice folks at MSNBC for giving us that crucial reporting. That is going to do it for today's legal breaking reporting, ladies and gentlemen. If you did enjoy the video in the legal breaking reporting and legal breaking news reporting and video analysis update, please firstly like, comment, share, subscribe, and enjoy. Secondly, if you want to make sure that you're always up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on this side of politics, please hit the bell icon that is beneath the screen here on the right hand side of the subscribe button. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to also stay up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on the side of politics, please follow me on my social medias that'll be linked down below in the video description. I am on Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, as well as TikTok. Fourthly, ladies and gentlemen, please help me reach and achieve the goal of 170 plus subscribers. The reason why I'm saying 170 plus subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, is because right after we reach and achieve the goal of 170 subscribers, we have more subscribers to reach and achieve right after we reach and achieve the goal of 170 subscribers. Fifthly, ladies and gentlemen, please stay positive. Even though unfortunately I know it's hard for the majority of you at times to stay positive during these unfortunate, illegal, induced darkness times caused by the illegal and unconstitutional Trump administration Trump regime. And know that justice will prevail on the correct side of law eventually, despite Donald Trump and his illegal unconstitutional regime and administration's illegal unconstitutional executive orders, actions, and measures. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, please stay safe. And until my next legal breaking reporting, please stay safe, and I will look forward to talking to you guys in the next recording.